The crow on the wire caws at you every morning. It watches you leave for work. It calls out when you return. Do you ever wonder what it wants? You probably think it's just doing what crows do, but the real reason cuts deeper than that. That crow remembers your face. It remembers what you did, and it has told its family all about you. How is that possible? Crows hold grudges, not in the way a person holds a grudge, but in a way that is arguably more unsettling. They hold grudges across years. They hold grudges across generations. And they hold grudges for things you never even did. What could a crow possibly hold against you? The story of how this came to light starts on a university campus in Seattle. A researcher named John Marsluff wanted to understand how crows perceive humans. He and his team wore a particular mask whenever they trapped and banded a small number of crows. It was a caveman mask with an exaggerated brow and a heavy frown. The crows were not harmed. They were simply caught, measured, and released. But to a crow, that was an act of aggression. After the trapping, something extraordinary happened. When someone wearing the caveman mask walked across campus, the crows scolded them. They dive-bombed. They called out alarm cries. They recognized the face. And now comes the strange part. Crows that had never been trapped themselves also reacted. How did they know? They had learned about the threat from their flock. This was the first glimpse into a hidden world of crow communication. Marsluff published this work in the journal Animal Behavior in 2010. But the story did not end there. He kept wearing the mask, and the crows kept scolding. For how long do you think? Years. In fact, a follow-up study found that crows still reacted to the caveman mask over 5 years later. Some of the original crows had died, but the new generation knew. They had inherited a grudge against a face they had never seen do harm. What allows a bird to do this? The answer lies in the way crows think. Crows belong to a family of birds called corvids. This includes ravens, jays, and magpies. Corvids have brains that are remarkably large for their body size. Their brain-to-body ratio is on par with that of great apes. A region called the nidopallium caudolaterale is especially dense with neurons. What is that? Think of it as the crow equivalent of a primate's prefrontal cortex. It handles higher cognition, planning, memory, decision-making. And in crows, it handles something else, facial recognition. Crows can pick a familiar human face out of a crowd. They can do it from a distance. They can do it even if you change your clothes. And once they mark you, they do not forget. But why would evolution build an animal that holds grudges? To understand that, you have to look at how crows live. Crows are intensely social. They form family groups. They cooperate to find food. They defend territories together. And they live a long time. A wild American crow can live 14 years or more. That is plenty of time to learn who is dangerous and who is not. In a social species, knowledge is survival. If a crow sees you threatening its kin, it must remember. But it cannot just remember for itself. It must share that information. Because tomorrow, its offspring might encounter you alone, and that offspring will need to know to flee. So how do crows share this knowledge? They developed a system of social learning. They hold what look like funerals. When a crow finds a dead crow, it sends out an alarm call. Others gather. They inspect the scene. They do not touch the body. Are they mourning? Not in the way a human mourns. They are learning. They are cataloging threats. A researcher named Kaylee Swift has spent years studying these crow funerals. She found that crows who see a dead crow become more cautious around the area. They also become more wary of any human associated with that death. This is how a single bad experience can ripple through an entire population. And here's where it gets deeply strange. The grudge does not stay with one individual. It spreads horizontally to other adults, vertically to the next generation. Imagine you did something to a crow years ago. You did not mean any harm. Maybe you shooed one away from your trash can, or you walked too close to a fledgling on the sidewalk. That crow remembered. It told its mate. It told its siblings. Then it taught its chicks. What happens next? Today, a crow you have never met might swoop at your head. It might caw at you every time you pass. And you would have no idea why. Because the offense that started it all happened before that crow was even hatched. Does that sound like a fairy tale? This is not a metaphor. This is documented animal behavior. Kevin McGowan, an ornithologist at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, has spent decades studying crows in upstate New York. He has personal experience with crow grudges. He once banded some nestling crows as part of his research. For years afterward, those crows would scold him specifically. Not other people. Just Kevin. Why would they single him out? He could walk through a park full of strangers, and the crows would pick him from the crowd. He became the villain in their story. And they made sure he knew it. What does this mean for you? It means that the crow on the wire is not just a bird, it is a living archive, a member of a culture that spans decades. It holds a mental file on you. That file has your face, your gait, your habits, and it is cross-referenced with stories told by its elders. But here's the surprising part. This is not only a story about grudges. It is also a story about gratitude. Because crows remember kindness just as vividly, there are many accounts of crows bringing gifts to people who feed them. Shiny objects, buttons, pieces of metal. A woman in Seattle once left out food for crows every day. Over time, they started leaving her small tokens in return. A bead here, a paper clip there. She did not ask for anything, but the crows, in their own way, kept the ledger balanced. What prompts such behavior? John Marsloff has documented this as well. He calls it reciprocal exchange. It is not commerce as you know it, but it shows that crows operate on a code of mutual obligation. Your actions toward them do not disappear. They accumulate. They become your reputation in the corvid world. So the next time you hear a crow scolding from a rooftop, ask yourself what it might know. Not just about this morning, but about last year. About the person who lived in your house before you. About your morning routine that it has watched for 600 days straight. You're being remembered. You're being discussed. And you never even realized it. Does that change how you see the trees outside your window? This changes how you might walk through your neighborhood. It peels back the surface of the ordinary world. There is a parallel society of watchers in the trees. They keep their own history. They enforce their own rules. And they render their own slow judgments. The crow that caws at you every morning has not forgotten what you did. Even if you have. Even if you never did it at all. So what will you do differently tomorrow? How will you meet that dark eye on the wire? Because that crow is not just making noise. It is telling a story about you. And it will keep telling it as long as there are crows to listen. The crow on the wire caws at you every morning. Now you know what it is saying. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel. There's much more to discover.